All right, hello, welcome to another episode of Commander Deck Building. Today we are looking at my most liked deck on Moxfield. That is going to be Thanos the Mad Titan. Um, so Thanos here is an interesting thing to play as a commander. I think the reason for that is that it's a board wipe in the command zone, and that's immediately going to make him a target, and people are going to want to remove it. I get that. The good part is power-ups can be at instant speed, so you can always board wipe in response to their removal, things like that. But what is the goal of the deck, essentially? Well, for this one, I didn't want to make it too mean, so I kept it, other than lands, constrained to the Marvel universe. My Nick Fury deck kept all the lands constricted to Marvel as well, but that one's more of a fun deck. This one, you're going to be much more of a target than when you play Nick Fury, so you're going to want a good land base available for it. So, what are we doing with it? Our goal here is villain tribal and wipe the board so our villains hit and run through the deck with conniving. Use all the villain tricks they gave us, essentially. So, we'll run through how we're going to do that and exactly what kind of little combos are available in it. So, let's take a look. Thanos here is a Death Touch Lifelink 4/4 for 3 with the power-up ability requiring specifically a colorless mana and Wooburg to put 2+1/+1 counters on Thanos, choose odd or even, and destroy each other creature with mana value of the chosen quality. Okay. So notably Thanos doesn't destroy himself, which would be kind of silly. And how are we going to make this work? Well, let's start off with our villains, because these are things we want to hit and hit hard. Abomination Irradiated Brute is a trample 4/4 for 4. That whenever a gamma or villain you control deals combat damage to a player, put that many +1/+1 counters on Abomination. Abomination can get massive if you're rolling pretty well with this. Get Abomination out early, and man, he can really get big, and that's a good thing. Then we have Absorbing Man. This is here for fun little tricks. So Absorbing Man is a 3-mana 4/4 with Vigilance that at the beginning of your first main phase and until your next turn, Absorbing Man becomes a copy of up to one target artifact, non-or enchantment, or land, except its name is Absorbing Man, it's legendary, human, villain, 4/4, in addition to all its other types, and has Vigilance. So what are we trying to target with Absorbing Man? A good example of this is to target the Cosmic Cube and get multiple Cosmic Cube triggers, because why not? You can target the Soul Stone, because again, it doesn't change the name. He stays named, uh, sorry, he stays named Absorbing Man, so you can have a second Soul Stone for, I don't know why you would want it, but you could. Um, Mostly, it's here to target Cosmic Cube, to target black market connections, get you extra triggers for that. Um, that's an aura, so you can't do that one. But Thunderbolt's Conspiracy is another good one. Um, just in case it eats removal, then you have it. Things like that. Um, or just mana. Get yourself an Arc Reactor, get yourself a Soul Ring, get yourself an Arcane Signet. Pretty good all around. Copying like Avengers Under Siege, yeah, I guess you could. Same with Political Triumph, you could. But I don't think that they're necessary for that. But mostly the goal there is copy us a Cosmic Cube. That's why it's in there. Absorbing Mana Titania is a pretty simple 5-mana 4/5 that doubles all damage that creature sources you control would deal. Simple, lots of damage. Ares God of War is a 3-mana 4/3 that attacks each combat if able, and whenever an attacking creature you control dies, return that card to its owner's hand. That's just, oh look, my creature died. Well, not really. It just bounces, but it does die, so it would go to the graveyard and then to your hand. So if you have death triggers in other decks that would run lots of death triggers, Ares would be really fun to have around for that, and I do use it in some other decks that I haven't covered. Arnim Zola's a 3 mana 2/3 uh, for 3. You tap them and you create a tapped villain with Menace, a 2/1, and you activate only if there are 3 or more creature cards in your graveyard. It's not the best, but it's a villain, and it's here for that. Baron Helmet Zemo. Whenever you cast a black spell from your hand, Zemo connives, and then you can boast and exile any number of black cards from your graveyard with 15 or more black mana symbols among them. Copy them, and you may cast up to 3 of the copies without paying their mana costs. I really want to build this into a commander as well, but you'll see there's a lot of this is a black heavy deck for a 5-color deck, as you would expect. A lot of the villains have black as a color. So you should be able to get that off pretty consistently if Zemo comes out early. Baron Strucker, Hydra Overlord, is a 3 mana 2/2. Villains cost 1 less. That's crucial. And whenever another villain you control enters, you may have it connive, but only once per turn. Conniving is great. Conniving is such a great mechanic. You're going to want it here. Crimson Cow, Master of Evil, is a 3 mana 1/3. Whenever one or more non-token villains you control attack a player, you create a 2/1 black villain creature token with Menace. Now, it's not tapped and attacking or anything like that, but just for attacking, you get to create a villain to replace if your creature happens to get blocked and died or combat tricks, whatever. Crossbones, Malicious Mercenary, a 4 mana 3/3 with Death Touch. Whenever another villain you control enters, put a +1/+1 counter on Crossbones. He deals 2 damage to each opponent, but only once per turn. Just a very, very, very good little ability. Because he's a 3/3 with Death Touch, that makes him quite valuable. So, use him if you like. I think it's a replaceable one if you want to throw in something else, but I think personally that it's quite nice to have around. Just Death Touch blockers, man. I love them. So a 6 mana 3/3 Doctor Doom. I think we all know this card at this point, but when Doctor Doom enters, you create 2 3/3 colorless robot villain artifact creature tokens named Doombot. And as long as you control an artifact creature or a plan, Doctor Doom is indestructible. And the important part for us here is at the beginning of your end step, you draw a card and lose a life. Card draw. We want card draw. I stress that quite often in a lot of the decks that I cover is card draw is king. You want cards. Mana's great, but you can't cast anything with a lot of mana and no cards in your hand. And then we move to the Precon Commander, Doctor Doom, King of Latveria. Whenever you discard 1 or more land cards, each opponent loses 2 life. Okay. But at the beginning of combat on your turn, target villain you control gains Menace until end of turn, and it connives. That's what we're really here for. We're not going to be discarding a lot of land cards in this. This is not built around this Doctor Doom. But we want conniving, and for a 4 mana 3/3, that's a pretty good ability. Then we have Eddie Brock, which we don't care about. We care about Venom, Lethal Protector, a Menace, Trample, Haste 5/5 for 6 mana. Whenever Venom attacks, you may sacrifice another creature. If you do, draw X cards. There's that card draw. Then you may put a permanent card with mana value X or less from your hand onto the battlefield, where X is the sacrifice creature's mana value. Well, I have a whole Venom deck. I love Venom. I understand the mechanic. Essentially, what this means is Venom is going to turn to attack. He's going to tap him to attack. And he can do it the turn he comes in. And you're going to say, okay, I've got... Usually I look at things that have a powerful ETB effect. A good example of that one... Let's see. Here, Mr. Negative. 7 mana. Vigilance, lifelink, 5/5. When it enters, you may exchange life totals with target opponent. If you lost life this way, draw that many cards. We're mostly going to use this to flip the script at the end of a match because we're going to be a target. But once Mr. Negative enters, he's just a Vigilance, lifelink, 5/5. And then we're going to draw 7 cards and be able to put a permanent from our hand onto the battlefield. What could that permanent be? Could be a Cosmic Cube. Could be. Could be a Thunderbolts Conspiracy, so that we throw out a big attack, and if they die, they just come back. Um, could be lots and lots and lots of things. That, once it enters, it doesn't have as much value, so we're going to try and sacrifice it. Or if there's just something we don't feel like we're getting value of currently that we want to either get rid of or move on from, we can. But again, it's a big card draw engine, which is important. And it keeps your opponents guessing. When you're sacrificing things and cycling things in and out, they're not sure what your deck's going to do next. Then, of course, we have Galactus, Devourer of Worlds, a 10 mana 12/12 with flying, trample, indestructible. When he enters, exile target permanent. Galactus attacks an opponent with the most life among your opponents each combat, if able, unless you control Silver Surfer. Well, we're not going to control Silver Surfer. This is just here as a bomb to throw out on the table. A flying, trample, indestructible 12/12 is a lot to deal with for your opponents. It just is. So that's the only reason it's here. It's thematic, and if you get it out, the entire table is going to regret it. Then we have Gwenum Remorseless, which is a 5-mana 4/4 that is a poor man's Bolas' Citadel. Death Touch, Lifelink. Whenever Gwenum attacks, until end of turn, you may look at the top card of your library and you may play cards from the top of your library. If you cast a spell this way, pay life equal to its mana cost rather than pay its mana cost. Notably, this is a little bit different than Bolas' Citadel because it gets around the land problem that Bolas's can run into. So, as Bolas's, you look at the top card, it's a land, you're screwed. Because you have to cast with Bolas's. She says play. So you could play that land if you haven't played a land for turn and get the next card. So she has that going for her. But she doesn't have the damage everybody aspect of Bolas' Citadel, which is much better. Then we have Kang the Conqueror, a 4-mana 4/5 with flying. Okay, cool. We're here for the power-up. For 8, which would be 5 additional onto the casting cost for that turn. A total of 8, in other words. It would be 4 additional, I'm sorry. But you put a +1/+1 counter on Kang and take an extra turn after this one, but you can't use power-up abilities during that turn. Yes, please. More turns? Beautiful. Loki, God of Mischief, a 2-mana 2/1. Whenever a player or permanent becomes the target of an ability you control, draw a card. But only once per turn. Card draw, just pretty good. Then we have a very important one here. Loki, Lord of Misrule. This is a 4-mana 3/4, where you pay a blue and tap Loki to choose target creature you control. Each creature you control, other than the chosen creature, becomes a copy of that creature until end of turn, except it's not legendary, and you can only do this at sorcery speed. Well, if we have Galactus, Devourer of Worlds on board with any number of other creatures, that's amazing. If we have Absorbing Man and Titania on board, amazing. The fun part is also Abomination. If you have Abomination on board, whenever a Gamma or villain you control deals damage to a player, put that many +1/+1 counters on Abomination. Well, that's going to be all our creatures for all the damage that we dealt. They're going to get massive. Another fun aspect is to have it become a copy of Galactus, board wipe with Thanos, and all your creatures are indestructible, so you get around the board wipe. There's so many fun tricks you can do with this, and I think it's wonderful. Then we have Loki the Deceiver, the alt commander from the precon. 4-mana 4/4. Whenever Loki attacks, create a tapped and attacking token that's a copy of another target villain you control, except it isn't legendary, and it's an illusion. Sacrifice it at the beginning of the next end step. Whenever one or more villains you control deal combat damage to a player, draw a card. This is a wonderful opportunity for Venom. This is a nice little combo with Venom. Venom attacks, Loki attacks. You create a copy of something. Instead of having it actually attack, you sacrifice it to Venom's attacking trigger, and then you just get a card draw for whatever it was. And you get to put a permanent on for a copy that you otherwise would have just lost at the end of turn. Very, very fun combo there. There's other little things you can do with that, but that's one of my favorite ones to do. Then we have Madam Hydra, 4-mana 2/3. Whenever you cast a villain spell, create a 2/1 black villain creature token with menace. Pretty simple. She creates chump blockers and nice attackers for us. Mr. Negative, we talked about already. The first game I played with Thanos, I managed to win the game off of a Cosmic Cube trigger, bringing out Mr. Negative. It was wonderful. I got to swap life totals, put me up into the 20s and my opponent down to 6, so that my attacking creatures were enough to get the win. It was a very fun way to win, and a very, it's a nice little bomb to drop in there that if you get to put it out for free or cast it, wonderful. Then we have MODOK, a 5-mana 2/2 flying lifelink that has pay 3 life. MODOK connives, only during your turn. Well, here's the wonderful thing. You can do that as much as you want. So MODOK can be an emergency button. If you're coming down to the end of a game and you really need a board wipe, or you really need a whatever, you can search for it with MODOK. Yeah, it's going to cost you a lot of your life, but if you're about to lose anyways, that's fine. It also says, designed only for killing. Creatures your opponents control get -1/-1. Well, let's get around those little dorks and get rid of them on people that go wide. And then we have MODOK Evil Intellect, a 5-mana 3/5 with flying. Whenever you draw your second card each turn, target opponent sacrifices a non-token creature of their choice. Since we're going to be conniving, we're going to do a good bit of drawing our second card each turn. So, yeah, nice removal. Molecule Man. Non-land cards in your end have Miracle 0. 6 mana, 5/5. We all know this one. So the first card you draw on each person's turn, you're going to be able to cast for free at instant speed. This is a very, very, very good card. It should be in any villain deck. It should be in every colorless deck. Just get it in there. It honestly has a place in any deck that's running high mana value spells. Mysterio, Master of Illusion, a 4-mana 3/3. When Mysterio enters, create a 3/3 blue illusion villain creature token for each non-token villain you control, and you exile them when Mysterio leaves the battlefield. So, yeah, you're going to make a bunch of illusions, use them as blockers mostly, and yeah. This is a good way to amass a significant number of blockers so that you won't have to use your non-token villains as blockers and lose them potentially to combat damage. Red Hulk is a 6-mana 6/7 with reach and trample. Whenever Red Hulk is dealt damage, put a +1/+1 counter on him. When you do, he deals damage equal to the number of +1/+1 counters on him to any other target. Very cool effect. If you can make them indestructible, or you can copy a whole bunch of Red Hulks out with Loki and, say you do this, and then you Blast Act, which is Blast Act in here. It isn't, but somebody Blast Acts, or maybe I should put Blast Act in here, and I just didn't for some reason. Maybe I felt there was enough already, but a Blast Act alongside this, if you have a bunch of copies of it from the Loki Lord of Misrule, and you can just kill your opponents. 13 damage to each creature, that you then get to deal out 13 damage. Oh no, it's equal to the number of +1/+1. I'm sorry, I misread this card. He deals damage equal to the number of +1/+1 counters on him to any other target, so it's not as busted as I thought. My mistake. Continuing. Super Adaptoid is a 2-mana star 2, power equal to the number of legendary creatures you control. Other than the tokens we're creating, all of our creatures here are legendary, so however many other creatures we control. Whenever it enters or attacks, choose another target creature. If that creature has haste and Super Adaptoid doesn't, put a haste counter on Super Adaptoid. Do the same for flying, first strike, double strike, death touch, indestructible, lifelink, menace, reach, trample, and vigilance. So you choose another target creature. So again, this is another, if we have Galactus out, he just gets flying, trample, indestructible. If we have Thanos, lifelink, the other Thanos, flying, lifelink, death touch, super scroll, flying, menace. There's a lot of keywords on these creatures for us to copy. Super Scroll is a 4-mana 4/5 with flying that has those 4 abilities there: to create a wall, to give him +4/+4 until end of turn, to deal 4 damage to target creature, or to draw 4 cards for varying amounts of mana across the other colors. Just so useful and so many resources to use there. That's really all that is. Super Scroll is a, you know, what do you call it? A skeleton key or a fix-it-all tool. Whatever. You get the idea. Thanos Death's Consort is a 4-mana 3/3 with lifelink, and whenever another creature dies, put a +1/+1 counter on Thanos. Yeah, this is great, because say you have the other Thanos out, you snap away Odd, both of your Thanoses live, and then you have a massive Thanos here, because it's even, that survives the snap, with a lot of +1/+1 counters on it. And lifelink. Amazing. That's mostly why that's here. It's a generically good card. The Frightful Four, a 4-mana 4/4 with menace that will annoy the hell out of your opponents. Whenever an opponent casts their first non-creature spell each turn, that player loses life equal to that spell's mana value. Nasty. The Masters of Evil, a 5-mana, or rather a 6-mana 5/6. Other villains you control get +2/+1. You can pay 2, discard this card, and search your library for a plan, reveal it, put it into your hand, then shuffle. So it can get you a plan, or it's a nice lord for your villains. Our sorceries, Avengers Disassembled, can deal 3 damage to each creature, or destroy a target land. We're not going to destroy land. We don't, and unless somebody's running like a Maze of Ith or a Rogue's Passage that's put in work, we're going to mostly leave lands alone. Damnation, destroy all creatures that can't be regenerated. Extinction Event, choose odd or even, exile each creature with mana value of the chosen quality. Final Act, choose one or more, destroy all creatures, all planeswalkers, all battles, exile all graveyards, each opponent loses all counters. Yeah, they gave us lots of ways to wipe the board in Marvel at this point, and we're using them. Hex Magic, exile all the cards from your hand, then draw them many cards. Till the end of your next turn, you may play cards exiled this way. Just fun. Kindred Dominance, another board wipe that doesn't hit your own creatures, because we're going to choose villain and not get our creatures. Multiversal Incursion makes a copy of each creature we control that's non-token, that also isn't legendary. This is a crazy card and a very good game winner. Too Evil to Stay Dead is a 3-mana with Teamwork 4. Choose target creature card in your graveyard with mana value 4 or less. If you use Teamwork, just any creature card, and return it to the battlefield. Very good. Toxic Deluge, we should all know. 3 mana, pay X life in addition to it to give all creatures -X until end of turn. What do you know? Another board wipe. Dark Ritual, pretty standard mana ramp. Deadly Dispute, it's an additional cost. Sacrifice an artifact or creature. You draw 2 cards and create a treasure token. Pretty standard, good draw card. Decoy Ploy. For 2, it's an instant. Choose one or both. Return target villain card from your graveyard to your hand, or return target hero card from your graveyard to your hand. We're going to be choosing villain, and it just gets us, if an important piece got removed, gets it back to us. Ephemerate. This is here to take advantage of ETB effects, or so that we can get another board wipe off with Thanos, whichever we need. So, you could Ephemerate Galactus, and then you get to just exile another target permanent when it re-enters, things like that. Any good ETBs is what we're aiming for. Space Shift, same thing. Exile target artifact or creature, then return it to the battlefield under its owner's control with a 1/1 counter on it. This is a mostly flavor pick because it's Thanos on the throne there. And it's a blink card, which blink with a few nasty ETBs like we have in this deck, pretty good. Another flavor choice, Swords to Plowshares. We all know what it does. This was a promo card they put out, and there's no way you can build a Thanos deck without including this. Visions of Villainy, same thing. Good Thanos flavor card. 3 mana. This spell costs 1 less to cast, so 2 mana. If you control a villain, draw 2 cards, lose 2 life. I like card draw. I like flavor. Then we have our standard Arcane Signet, Arc Reactor for 3 colorless. Cosmic Cube is a 5 mana with Ward 2 artifact that says, whenever you attack, look at the top 6 cards of your library. You may cast a spell from among them with mana value less than or equal to the greatest power among attacking creatures you control without paying its mana cost. Then you put the rest on the bottom of your library in a random order. Beautiful card for free casting when you have big creatures, hopefully. um, and nasty things to put out for free. Um, because you could just cast a spell. So that could be your multiversal incursion, your because it's on attack. That could be your kindred dominance to wipe away all the potential blockers there could have been, things like that. Then we have Doom's Time Platform, a 4 mana artifact that says whenever you attack, exile target non-land permanent or non-land card from your graveyard with 2 time counters on it, and give it suspend if it doesn't already have it. Soul Ring is Soul Ring. The Soul Stone, we should all know at this point, but it's an indestructible black mana rock that for 7 you can harness it and exile a creature you control. If you harness it, at the beginning of your upkeep, you will return target creature card from your graveyard to the battlefield. Just generically good. Arch Nemesis is a fun card. You enchant an opponent. Whenever you attack the enchanted player, they just lose 2 life, and you draw a card and gain 2 life. And whenever a player attacks you, you can reattach Arch Nemesis to them. Vengers Under Siege creates you 2/2/1 black villain creature tokens. Then it deals 2 damage to each non-villain creature and each opponent. And then it creates a treasure token for each villain you control. Solid. Black Market Connections is a commander staple at this point. You can create a treasure token, draw a card, and create a 3/2 colorless shapeshifter. If you do all 3, you lose 6 life, or any combination will lose you the associated life total. Pretty standard. A Construct a Cosmic Cube is an enchantment plan. Whenever you draw your second card each turn, create a 2/1 black villain creature token with menace and put a plan counter on it. When the 7th plan counter is put on this enchantment, sacrifice it. When you do, control target opponent during their next turn. Then we have Doom Reigns Supreme. Another enchantment plan. Whenever a villain you control enters, each opponent loses 1 life and you gain 1. When you put the 5th plan counter on it, sacrifice it. Target opponent exiles the top 5 cards of their library, and you may cast up to 2 spells from among those without paying their mana costs. Just a fun card. Frozen in Ice is a very good creature removal for 3 mana. Enchant creature. When it enters, tap them, and enchanted creature loses all abilities and cannot untap. Pretty nice. Political Triumph is a 1 mana enchantment plan. Whenever a creature you control enters, scry 1 and put a plan counter on it. When the 4th plan counter is put on it, sacrifice it, draw a card, and put a +1/+1 counter on each creature you control. Secret Invasion is both removal or making your board nastier. You enchant a creature you control. When this aura enters, exile up to 1 target creature other than the enchanted creature until the aura leaves the battlefield. Enchanted creature becomes a copy of that creature until this aura leaves the battlefield. And the enchanted creature gets ward too. So that's saying, no, you no longer have your scary creature, and now I have it, and good luck. Fun card. Super Intelligence is a pretty standard draw mechanic. Enchant creature at the beginning of your upkeep of enchanted creature. The beginning of the upkeep of enchanted creature's controller, that player draws a card. So we're going to enchant one of our creatures, and we're going to draw a card on our upkeep as extra card draw. Thunderbolt's Conspiracy is a 4 mana enchantment with flash. Whenever a villain you control dies, return it to the battlefield under its owner's control with a finality counter on it, and it becomes a hero in addition to its other types. Beautiful. Just beautiful. This is, if it didn't say villain on it and it wasn't so specific to villain, it would be a much more expensive card. But as is, this is one of the better cards in any villain deck, and should go in all of them. As for lands, I'll just cover real quick. It's pretty standard. There's not a, Crystal Quarry is nice because it mana fixes for you and creates colorless. Fabled Passage is a standard inclusion. Dark Fortress, these are all of these cycle create colorless in addition to colored, which is great because we need that. So we included all of those. I included one of each of the triomes. There's 10 of them. Some of them say triome, some of them are like Jetmir's Garden. We included all of those. We included the Battle Bond lands that made sense. And then a good number of basics. And that's really it. So, with Thanos the Mad Titan, you are going to be the target at the table, but you are going to have some fun controlling their board and making big, nasty villain boards that get to bash your opponent's faces in. It's pretty fun. I recommend trying it out, and if you like the video, catch me in the next one.